7.1 day 1, we are going to look at how to find the midpoint on a number line on a segment and in the coordinate plane. We're also going to look for, if we're given an endpoint and the midpoint, what would be the other endpoint. So midpoint, obviously in the middle, and so we add the two numbers and then divide by 2 to find, basically averaging the two, to figure out what would be in the middle. So we're going to take and add the two, the B and the D, where they're at, and then divide by 2 to figure out where that would be in the middle. And so that would be 5/2, or 2.5. That kind of helps you see where that midpoint would be. If we have two numbers or two temperatures, we would add them again and divide by 2. So in this case, we have a 20-degree temperature plus a -6-degree temperature, and divide by 2 after we add them. So 14 divided by 2 would be an average of 7 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have a coordinate plane, or even just two coordinates, then we are going to add the x's and divide by 2 and add the y's and divide by 2. So now we have kind of like two parts to it. Finding the midpoint in the coordinate plane isn't too bad. You just kind of have to find the slope, but sometimes it's kind of hard to find, especially if it's going to be at a fraction. And so a lot of people like to just kind of rely on doing the formula and adding your x's, adding your y's, making sure you divide those by 2. So we're going to go ahead and kind of set up our big word pair here, where we're going to take our x's and add them together, the first numbers, and our second numbers, the y's, and add them together and divide by 2. So if you notice, we wind up with -1/2 and 9/2. And so that is not going to be the prettiest and easiest midpoint to find. But we'll look at the next example and see how that looks in the coordinate plane. So if you were to graph this, -6, 2 here for E, and then 5, 7 there for D, and then we have our midpoint here at kind of right in there, so right in the center of that little box. And let's go ahead and take a look at this next one, or I guess it's number 5. That's the one we can do in the coordinate plane. But this one we're going to practice again. I would like for you to try this one, just like we did on the last one. Go ahead and try putting it kind of into the formula, adding x's, dividing by 2, adding y's, and dividing by 2. Hopefully you got -5, -3 for your coordinate there. So here's kind of, if it is going to be a pretty one, if we know that, find the coordinates of T, if S, this is the one where this gives you the midpoint, where S is the midpoint. And we have one endpoint R, and we're going to find the other endpoint T. So R is -3, 5. And then we have our midpoint at -1, 1, and that's S. So there's our midpoint. We want to figure out where the other endpoint is. This is where you can kind of see the slope. It went down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 2. So we can repeat that, down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 2 to find T. The other way to do it, if you don't have a coordinate plane, is to kind of make almost like a little number line. And we have our R, our S, and our T. And we don't know T, so we kind of just leave that as a blank one. But we do know R, and we do know S. And what we do is we figure out, well, how do I get from this X to this X? What are they adding or subtracting. It looks like they would be adding 2 in order to get from -3 to -1. So we're going to repeat that same +2. We're going to take our -1 and add 2, and that's going to give me my new coordinate, my endpoint coordinate here. We'll double check and see if we're right over here. And then we're going to do that again, but this time for our y coordinates. 5 to 1, that's subtracting 4. So we're going to again repeat and subtract 4 from this 1. 1 minus 4 is -3. So let's go ahead and double check, is t at 1, -3? Yes, it is. So you can kind of do either or in the coordinate plane, or kind of your own little chart. So I want you to try that same thing for this example right here of finding the end point. And so we kind of again have R, S, T, and we are looking for the coordinates of T. And you can go either direction. You can work your way from this one to this one, then repeat this one, this one. So if you had R over here, you could still do this the same way. And this one is -8, 6, and S is -5, 10. All right, so I want you to go ahead and kind of work your way from X to X. What was the change? And repeat that same change from here to here. And then do the same thing for your Y's. And hopefully you got -214 for your point T.